if you were unconstrained by budget and politics and geography, anything at your organization, what would your compliance team look like? And I think that was part of the germ of what this panel has become. And so, I've been jotting down some notes here. I've heard data, law, of course, finance, risk. Let's see, sort of business acumen, communications. We heard this idea, certainly diversity, having somebody maybe that's bilingual or people that can easily communicate with those out in your workforce. So I want to ask the three of you, if you could craft your dream team, what would it look like? And I think let's start with Callie, and then we'll go to Kathleen in there.
So I've been thinking about this because this is the topic of the entire panel. So I actually last night, before I quit for the day, I was writing down a list of different things, and then I thought about it, and I literally crossed it out and wrote one word, which was nice. And let me explain that a second, because it sounds very trite, but it's not at all. We've talked about how lean we are. We've talked about how we are involved in so many aspects. And if you think about it, ethics and compliance is no place for jerks. It just isn't. Now, I would argue that no jerks don't have a place anywhere, but the reality is there are some. They can't be in ethics and compliance. They just can't, because not only do you have to work with all these other teams that you're going to work with that you need help with, but you also need to, you're right, the ultimate responsibility for acting with integrity and regulatory compliance and all that goes with it is with every single employee. And you're not going to get there without being nice. And when you go out in the field, it's not that, oh, we don't want to be ethical, or, oh, we don't want to comply with the law. They want to understand how filling out this form or signing off on this control or doing this extra cash count or whatever it is fits in that. And if you just go in and you say, I'm here from corporate and you have to do it, and wag your finger, you're going to get nowhere. But if you explain why, and hey, we can help prevent fraud, or this will help this, and this will engage people more, and people will feel more included, or whatever the case may be, you get them aligned with your mission. And you can't do that if you're not nice. At the same token, though, you sometimes have to be tough. To be in ethics and compliance, and particularly in a higher level role, you have to sit in the room with 20 people and raise your hand and say, stop, can't go there, can't do that, or what about this? Stevie, unless you grew up in the 70s or maybe early 80s, you may not even know this song, but it reminded me of Stevie Nicks' Leather and Lace. It's a little bit country and rock and roll, whatever yin and yang you want to do. But I think being nice and also being tough. And let me just say one other thing. The attractiveness on the other side. So we're out there saying, what skills do we look for someone coming into compliance? And all the other things we talked about, project management, that's all key. But at the end of the day, I want someone that's nice. But when someone's out there thinking, do I want to go into ethics and compliance? Because it's still a little nebulous. I truly don't think that there's anybody, perhaps other than the CEO, that probably has more fingers in more things than the ethics and compliance team. And it changes daily. One day you can be dealing with, a regulatory issue, the other day with an investigation, the other day with a need to, just did this the other day, went out to our facility and had a videographer and recorded 3 employees doing a skit on the proper way to vent refrigerants, and, and to make sure that that was being done in an environmentally safe manner. It's a little bit of everything. And if you want to be a jack of all trades and make a difference and get involved, I think ethics and compliance is the place to be. Sorry, I probably went a little over there, but I feel very passionately about this.
Not at all. And we may close on that question of sort of what's the next step to get people into the profession through either skill sets or personality or what have you. So that's a good thing to put a button on for a second. So Kathleen, I'll pose that same question to you. Your ideal aside from being nice, what do you want in your quiver, if you will, to build out this world-class compliance program?
Well, so just separating it. So there's certain, I call personality attributes that obviously I want in anyone that works for me. Nice, creative thinker. Obviously they have to be ethical. They have to walk the talk. And they have to have, be curious and interested, business sense, common sense. So obviously you want all those personality traits in the person. And again, I think you hit on the fact that to really have an effective compliance program, you have to have a very diverse skill set, right? And again, I have to say the only way I think practically anyone can have it is being we're able to work cross-function, right? Because you got to have someone that understands the business, the finance. They have to understand fraud. I have to have forensic accountants. I have people I tap in from other functions that are specialists in learning, right? So if I'm going to have a new course, I want them to look at it for me. And then to save me from mistakes, I also want my diversity, equity, and inclusion team to look at my training, because I was criticized for my last code of conduct training because I had 5 scenarios and the male character was the person in the know and the female character in 4 of the 5 was the person asking the question. So, I didn't see that. And I had like 5 women. I had a women company that hired it. So I think you have to be so diverse that I don't think you're going to get all of the attributes you need without working cross-function. But be that as may, if your question is, what's your hypothetical dream team? I think you hit on almost all the ones I have. I mean, data scientists, I don't know if you mentioned that, and behavior scientists, right?
Yeah, I mean, so as someone who's interested in behavioral ethics and psychology, I mean, I always am pushing for people, at least they're interested in those topics, to get that into the organization more. Aaron, what's your take? We've heard about
that was my major
data.
Undergraduate psychology. So
Great. Thanks, Kathleen. Aaron, so we've heard a little bit about data and data visualization. Maybe who else would you add to that?
So I mean, the precise answer to the question, yes, data scientist or somebody who can help drive our analytics program. Strong project managers. I've kind of harped on those themes, but more than that, and I agree with everything that was said before, lock, stock, and barrel. More than that, though, I'm looking for people who have intellectual curiosity, people who are willing to challenge themselves, push themselves in a different sort of uncomfortable space, people who can get to a principled yes, right? Oftentimes a business, wants to get to yes, but how do you get there? And can you get there in a principled way, right? You can't always be the people that just say no, because then you're a non-entity. So there has to be a way to enable the business to get what they need, but in a principled way that substantially addresses risk, right? So I'm looking for people who can kind of navigate that milieu. And then I think in addition to that, I'm looking for some amount of flexibility. So again, what can you do? What have you done in the past? Have you had to make hard pivots? Oftentimes, Uber and other businesses change. I mean, 2020 was a year of dramatic change. Our company went from being a rideshare business to a delivery business overnight. That was radical. And that caused us, to the compliance team, to have to change dramatically as well. Do you have the ability to do that? Or are you too rigid in your mindset? That type of person, curious, somebody who has demonstrated skills, different skills that are additive to the team, and somebody who can pivot when needed and has some amount of flexibility, I think is critical.